Teaching 2, Ministry and Spirituality. The Third Testament, Revelations of Jesus Christ, Chapter 63. Ministry and Spirituality. Thus saith the Lord, learn to love, to bless, and to forgive one another, to be meek and gentle, righteous and noble, and understand that, if you do not do so, you will not have in your life even the slightest reflection of the deeds of Christ, your Master. I speak to everyone, and I invite you to destroy the errors that for so many centuries have hindered you in your evolution. Do not forget that your origin is my love. Today, your heart is hardened because of egotism. But when it becomes sensitive again to every spiritual inspiration, it will feel love toward its fellow men and will experience someone else's pain as if it were its own. Then you will be capable of complying with the precept that says to you, love one another. This world is a proper place where you can work. In it is suffering, sickness, sin in all its forms, vice, disunity, misled young people, elderly people without dignity, bad science, hatred, war, and falsehood. Those are the fields where you are to work and sow. But if that struggle awaiting you among mankind seems gigantic to you, truly I say to you that even if it seems monumental, it does not compare with what you will have to deal with yourselves, a struggle of the spirit, of reason and of the conscience against passions of the flesh, its self-love, its egotism, its materiality. And while you have not triumphed over your own self, how can you sincerely talk about love, obedience, humility, and spirituality to your brethren? Virtue has been spurned and regarded as something harmful or useless. Now the time has come when you will understand that only virtue will save you. It will make you feel peace and fill you with satisfaction. But virtue has yet to suffer many setbacks and humiliations before it can penetrate all hearts. The warriors who shall defend it will have to fight with a great effort and faith. Where are those warriors of righteousness, charity, and peace? Do you believe that you are the ones? You examine yourselves inwardly and answer me that you are not the ones. But I say that with good will, all of you can be of those warriors. Why otherwise do you believe that I have come among you? Love, speak when you should, be quiet when it is appropriate. To no one say that you are my chosen. Flee from adulation and do not publicize the charity you do, but work in silence, testifying by your works of love to the truth in my doctrine. To love is your destiny. Love, for you will thereby cleanse the stains from both this and your previous lives. Reject adulation, for it is a weapon that destroys your noble sentiments. It is the sword that can kill the faith I have ignited in your heart. How can you let men destroy the altar you bear in the depths of your being? Do not confuse humility with poverty of dress, nor should you believe that he is humble who, believing in his own inferiority, makes that the reason to bow to others and serve them. I tell you that he who is truly humble values who he is, and knowing that he has some knowledge, knows how to descend to others and enjoy sharing what he has with them. How gratified do you feel when a man who is noted among men shows you a sign of affection, of understanding and humility? You can give that same feeling to those that are, or who feel inferior to you. Know how to lower yourself, to offer your hand without feeling superior, and to be understanding. I tell you that in these cases it is not only he who receives the evidence of affection or to help and consolation who enjoys it, but also he who gives it, for he knows that above him there is one who has given him proof of love and humility, and that one is his Lord, God. Live with purity, humility, and simplicity. Comply with all that is just, both in being human and in what refers to your spirit. Remove from your lives all that is superfluous, contrived, or harmful, and enjoy all the good that is found in your existence. Do not see anyone as an enemy, but see all men as your brothers. That is your mission. If you persevere in this to the end, justice and love will triumph on the earth, and it will give you the peace and security that you so yearn for. Give your heart the freedom to feel the pains of others. Do not restrict it, or dedicate it solely to feeling that which affects yourself. Stop being indifferent to the trials that humanity is passing through. When will your love be grand enough to embrace your fellow men and love them as you do those who are of your flesh and blood? If you were told that you are more of spirit than flesh, many would not believe it. Yet I tell you that you are more truly brothers in the spirit than through that shell you wear. For the spirit belongs to eternity, and in contrast, the material is fleeting. Consider the truth that families here on earth are formed today and tomorrow disintegrate, while the spiritual family exists forever. Do you believe, hearing these words, that I could disseminate hostility or ill will in your heart toward your brothers who profess different religions? Never, disciples. It is you who must give an example of brotherhood and harmony, seeing and loving all with the same affection with which you look at those who understand your way of thinking. I know that the greater your knowledge, the greater will be your love for me. Do you know what it means when I tell you to love me? It means to love truth, love life, love the light, and love one another, to love the true life. Know, disciples, that the goal of your search is that spiritual state which pain cannot reach, and that state is reached by merit, by struggle, through trial, sacrifice, and renunciation. Observe these cases of patience, faith, humility, and conformity that you sometimes see in your brothers. They are spirits sent by me to give an example of virtue among humanity. The destiny of these creatures appears sad, and yet they, in their faith, know they have come to fulfill a mission. You have gathered the great examples of my envoys and disciples in your histories, and know their names by heart. But do not, for that reason, ignore the small examples you touch along your road. Do not believe that prophets, forerunners, and spirits of light have existed only in the bosom of the people of Israel. To other peoples also I have sent some of these, but men took them as gods, not as envoys, and under their teachings created religions and cults. See first, disciples, the timber you bear, before you fix yourselves on the mote in your brother's eye. By this I mean that you must not take my doctrine to judge the actions of your brothers in their own various religions. Truly I tell you that on all those paths there are hearts that seek me through lives that are noble and studded with sacrifice. My disciples, nonetheless, often ask me why I permit this diversity of ideas that are sometimes contradictory and create differences and even hatred between men. The Master tells you, it has been permitted because there are no two spirits that have exactly the same comprehension, the same light, or the same faith, and also because you have been given free will, with which you must choose your own path. You have never been forced to take the path of the law, but have only been invited to do so, giving you thereby the opportunity to earn true merit in search of truth. I wish you to learn not to make judgments lightly, nor to allow yourselves to be carried away by the first impression. I give you this warning, For when you analyze my word, and for when you must judge other doctrines, religions, philosophies, cults, and spiritual or scientific revelations, recognize that what you know is not all that exists, and that the truth you know is only a small part of absolute truth, which is manifested in many forms, many of which are unknown to you. Respect the religious beliefs of your brothers, and when you enter their churches, do so with sincere humility and respect, knowing that I am present in all worship. Do not reject the world in order to follow me, nor should you depart from me, pretending to have too many other responsibilities on earth. Learn to combine both laws into one. Do I not bless all humanity without distinction? Underneath the mantle of that blessing are found the good and the meek, just as the arrogant and the criminal. Why not imitate me? Do you by chance feel disgust at the actions of others? Do not forget that you form part of humanity, that you must love and pardon them, not reject them, for it would be as though you were feeling repulsion for yourselves. All that you see in your fellow men is present in you to some extent. That is why I wish you to learn to analyze your inner self, so that you may know your spiritual and moral side. This way, you will be able to judge yourselves and gain the right to look upon others. Do not go forth to seek the defects in your brothers. The ones you have are enough. Do you believe you comply with my command to love one another when you selfishly limit your love to your family? Do the religions believe they obey that maxim when they recognize only their own faithful and do not recognize those who belong to other sects? Can the great peoples of the world who preach civilization and progress say they have achieved spiritual progress and complied with that teaching of Jesus when all the enthusiasm is in preparing for fratricidal war? Oh, humanity! You who have never known how to value my word and have never wished to sit at the table of the Lord, because it has seemed too humble. My table, nonetheless, still awaits you with the bread and wine for your spirit. Do not regard my work as a burden, nor say that the fulfillment of the beautiful mission of loving the Father and your brethren is tiresome for your spirit. What is really tiresome is the cross of your own iniquities and those of others, for which you will have to weep, bleed, and even die. Ingratitude, incomprehension, selfishness, slander will be like a burden upon you if you allow them to lodge within you. To the stubborn man, the fulfillment of my law would seem difficult and fatiguing, because it is perfect, and it does not protect iniquity or falsity. But for the obedient, the law is his defense, his support, his salvation. I tell you also that men must believe in men. They must have faith and trust in one another, for you must be convinced that on earth you all need each other. Do not believe that I, knowing you doubt the whole world, am flattered when you say that you have faith in me. For what I expect of you is that you love me through the love you give freely to your neighbors, forgiving those who have offended you, offering charity to the poor, the small and the weak, loving your brothers without distinction, and putting into all your works the greatest truth and disinterest. Learn from me, who has never doubted you, that I have faith in your salvation and confidence that you will rise up to reach the true life. Love your father, have charity for your fellows, put away all that is harmful to your human life or your spirit. This is what my doctrine teaches. Where do you see anything that is difficult or impossible? No, my beloved people, it is not impossible to comply with my word. It is not the word that is difficult, but the mending of your own ways, your regeneration and your spiritualization, which are difficult. For you lack noble sentiments and higher aspirations. Yet, since I know that your doubts, ignorance, and indecision must vanish, I will continue teaching you. For me, nothing is impossible. I can convert stones to the bread of eternal life and make crystal clear water flow from rocks. I come to remind you of the law that cannot be wiped from your conscience, not forgotten by your heart, nor argued with, for it was dictated by the mind of wisdom, the universal mind, so that each man would have inside himself the light that would guide him on the road to God. It is necessary to have a deep knowledge of the law, so that all the acts of life adhere to truth and justice. Not knowing the law, you are liable to commit many errors, and I ask, has your conscience never urged you to the light of knowledge? Truly, I tell you, your conscience has never been inactive or indifferent. It is your heart and your understanding that reject the inner light, because they are fascinated by the splendor of the outward light, which is the knowledge of the world. Now that I am making a broad explanation of my teaching, I must make you understand that all you do that is outside the laws that govern the spirit and the material is to the detriment of both. Conscience, intuition, and knowledge are the guides that go with you to point out the path of right and to help you avoid stumbling blocks. These lights are of the spirit, but it is necessary to let them shine. When the clarity is found in each of you, you will exclaim, "Father, your seed of redemption has sprouted in my being, and your word has finally flowered in my life." I have come to give greatness to your spirit, a greatness which exists in the compliance with my law, which is love. Yet you must make yourselves worthy of this greatness, fulfilling your mission in imitation of your master. I have always told you, take the satisfactions that your world can offer you, but take them within my law, and you will be perfect. You frequently hear that clamoring of your conscience, and it is because you have not harmonized the material and the spiritual with the law I have given. Many times you continue to sin because you believe that you cannot be pardoned, an ignorant belief, for my heart is a door eternally open to the repentant. Do you not have living within you the hope that motivates you to wait for a better day? Do not allow melancholy and desperation to invade you. Think of my love, which is always with you. Seek in me the answer to your doubts, and soon you will feel illuminated by a new revelation. The light of faith and hope will rekindle deep within your spirit. Then you will be a fortress for the weak. Live always prepared to forgive those who offend you. Meditate in advance about the fact that those who offend their brothers do so from a lack of light. And I tell you that forgiveness is the only thing that can bring light to those hearts. Resentment and revenge only augment the darkness and attract more pain. Your conscience, which requests and expects perfect deeds from you, will not allow you to feel true peace until you know how to practice true forgiveness with your brothers. Why would you hate those who offend you when they are simply the means for you to come to me? If you practice forgiveness, you will achieve merits, and when you enter the kingdom of heaven, you will see those on earth who helped you to evolve. Then you will ask the Father to help those beings to be saved and come to the Lord as well. Your intercession will help them to attain that blessing. Do not reject those who, in their desperation, blaspheme against you. For them I furnish you with a drop of my balsam. Prepare yourselves to forgive those who offend you in what is most precious to you. Truly, I tell you, whenever you give your true and sincere pardon in these tests, you ascend one more step on the ladder to your elevation. Would you then resent and deny forgiveness to those who are helping you to come closer to me? Would you renounce the spiritual delight of imitating me, allowing violence to cloud your mind, and returning blow for blow? Truly, I tell you, this humanity does not yet know the power of forgiveness and the miracles it works. They will be convinced of this truth when they have faith in my word. Beloved people, join yourselves to your brothers, and when you are in communion with me, you will forgive even the most serious offenses through the love that I have inspired in you. How could you fail to forgive those who do not know what they are doing? And they do not know because they do not understand the damage they are doing to themselves. Forgive as many times as you are offended. Do not even count the times you must confer forgiveness. Your destiny is so elevated that you must not delay yourselves with these stumbling blocks on the path, for ahead, great missions await you. Keep your spirit always disposed to love, understanding, and the good, so that you may be placed in the higher planes. And so, just as in times past, many of your brothers have written beautiful pages in the eternal book of the Spirit with their works, and imitating them, you will continue that history as an example and a delight to the new generations that will come to the earth. Cultivate peace, love it, and spread it everywhere, for humanity is very needful of it. Do not let yourselves be disturbed by the vicissitudes of life, so that you can remain always strong and ready to give of what you possess. That peace, which is the patrimony of every spirit, has fled in this era and given way to war and to torture nations, destroy institutions, and disconcert the spirits. This is because evil has made itself lord over the human heart, and hatred, insane ambition, and unchecked greed spread, causing harm. But how brief will be their reign! I announce, for your joy and tranquility, that your liberation is close. In pursuit of that ideal, a multitude of beings yearning to breathe an atmosphere of brotherhood, purity, and health are working. You will perform charitable deeds during the course of your journey, for that is your mission. You have many spiritual gifts with which to be charitable in different ways. If you are able to prepare yourselves, you will perform that which you call impossible. The charity that you render by means of a coin, although it is charity, is the least elevated that you can give. You should convey love, forgiveness, and peace to the heart of your fellow men. I do not want any more Pharisees or hypocrites protected by my law. I want disciples who feel the pain of their fellow men. I will forgive all those who arise with repentance, regardless of the sect or religion which they profess, and I will allow them to see the path of right clearly. Hear me. Be humble in the world, and sow goodness, so that you may gather your fruits in heaven. If when you do evil you are not glad of witnesses, why do you wish to have them when you do good works? What is there to be vain of if you have merely fulfilled your duty? Understand that because you are so small and so human, praise damages your spirit. Why, when you perform a good work, do you immediately expect your Father to give you the reward? Those who think in this way are not working disinterestedly, and so their charity is false, and their love far from being true. Allow the world to see that you do good works, not so that you can receive homage, but only to give good examples and teachings, and to bear witness to my truth. When your spirit presents itself in this spiritual valley to have its deeds on earth evaluated, I will ask you most about those things which you requested and about what you might have done on behalf of your brothers. Then you will recall my words of this day. In the second era, humanity gave me a wooden cross, to whose martyrdom men sentenced and made me suffer. But upon my spirit, I carried a heavier and more cruel one, that of your imperfections and of your ungratefulness. Would you be capable of reaching my presence, carrying upon your shoulders a cross of love and sacrifice for your fellow men? Know that for that purpose I sent you to earth. Therefore, your return shall be when you present yourselves with your mission fulfilled. That cross will be the key that will open for you the gates to the promised realm. I do not ask you leave everything, as I asked of those who followed me in the second era, among which he who had his parents left them, he who had a spouse left her. They abandoned their home, their riverbank, their boats and their nets. They left everything in order to follow Jesus. Nor am I saying that it is necessary for you to shed your blood in this period. Understand that you have to transform yourself spiritually and materially, that many of your customs and traditions, a heritage of your ancestors, shall have to disappear from your life in order to give way to spirituality. Not everyone will yet understand the meaning of spirituality, nor will they understand why I ask you to achieve that height. Can you be meek and obedient to my commandments when you do not even know what I ask of you? But there are those who understand the ideal that the Master is inspiring in his disciples, and they are hurrying to obey his instructions. If you truly yearn to be masters of spirituality, you must be perseverant, patient, studious, and observant, for that is when you shall have the opportunity along the way to gather the fruit of your works, and gather the experience which is the light and knowledge of the true life. I bring a new lesson through which you will learn to live spiritually on earth, which is the true life destined by God for men. I have already told you that spirituality does not mean mysticism, religious fanaticism, or supernatural practices. Spirituality is harmony between the spirit and the material, observance of both divine and human law, simplicity and purity in life, deep and absolute faith in the Father, and trust and joy in serving God in your fellow man. Ideals of the perfection of the moral and the spiritual. You ask the significance of the 7 steps of the ladder, and to be sure, your master tells you. The number 7 symbolizes spirituality, the spirituality I wish to see in my chosen people of Israel. You must come to me with all your virtues and gifts developed. On the 7th step, or stage of your evolution, you will come to me and see glory open its gates to receive you. For now, understand that as long as men do not achieve complete spirituality, they will need their material temples, and will need to place before their eyes the forms and images that make them feel my presence. The degree of spirituality or materialism of humanity can be measured by their form of worship. The materialist seeks me in the things of the earth, and if he cannot see me according to his wishes, he represents me in some fashion so as to make himself believe he has me before him. He who conceives of me as spirit feels me inside him, around him, and in all that surrounds him, because he himself has become my temple. Offer me spiritual worship. Do not be like those who raise temples and altars, gilded with gold and precious stones, or who carry out great pilgrimages and punish themselves with hard and cruel flagellation, and who offer prayers and devotions prostrate on their knees, but who have still been unable to confide their hearts to me. I have come to touch them through the conscience, and so I say, who speaks, saying what he does, and proclaims it to the 4 winds, has no merit before the celestial Father. In order to obey my law, you must pray, always elevating your spirits toward your Father. I have seen that in order to pray, you prefer solitude and silence, and that is the right thing to do when trying to find inspiration through prayer, or when you want to give thanks to me. But I also say to you that you should practice prayer in whatever condition you find yourselves, so that you might know how to summon my help in the more difficult periods of your lives, without losing serenity, self-control, faith in my presence, and self-confidence. Tell me your sorrows in silence, and confide to me your yearnings. Though I know them all, I wish you to form your own prayer until you practice the perfect communication of your spirit with the Father. You have realized the reach of prayer and have understood the immense power that it has when you offer it up to remedy a spiritual need, just as to ask for the solution to a material affliction. Remember that many times it has been enough for you to utter the word Father, for your entire being to tremble and your heart to feel filled by the comfort given by love. Know that when your heart calls to me with tenderness, my spirit too trembles with pleasure. When you call me Father, when the name springs from your being, your voice is heard in heaven, and you gain one of the secrets of the arcane. It is necessary that you learn to ask, to wait, and to receive, and that you never forget to give what I have conceded you. That is what contains the greatest merit. Pray for those who die day after day in war. I shall concede to those who pray with a clean heart that before 1950, all those who have died in war will rise spiritually to the light. Today you are young pupils and do not always correctly understand my lesson. For now, speak to God with your heart and your thoughts, and He will answer in the innermost depths of your being. His message, which will speak in your conscience, will be a voice clear, wise and loving that you will find little by little, and to which you will later grow accustomed. Do not be surprised or scandalized if I tell you that all the power, pomp, and splendor of your religions must disappear, and that when that happens, the spiritual meal will be prepared, to which will come multitudes hungry for love and truth. Many men, upon hearing these words, will deny that they are mine. I must ask them why they are indignant. What is it they defend? Their lives? I defend that. My law? I keep watch over that as well. Do not fear. None will die for my cause. Only evil will die, because goodness, truth, and justice shall prevail eternally. Do you think that it will be difficult for this scientific and materialistic world to return to feeling an inclination towards spirituality? I tell you that nothing is difficult, for my power is infinite. Elevation, faith, light, and goodness are more of an imperative for the spirit than food, water, and sleep are for the body. If the gifts, powers, and attributes of the Spirit have been dormant for much time, they will yet awaken to my call, and make spirituality, with all its prodigies, return to mankind, because now they are more prepared to comprehend them.